Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Pump Your Coin. Hey, good morning, Tom. How's it going?
I'm doing fantastic, Justin. Last night was incredible. I woke up this morning smiling because the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is what?
You check
I
your
check
phone. You
my
check.
Bitcoin. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right, baby. So I'm refreshing and I'm seeing Cardano's up like 8%, ETH's up 7%, Bitcoin's up 6%. Man, it was a good night for both of us.
Yeah. Cardano's up 8. I mean, it was funny because I was sitting there thinking after the show and watching ETH run, and I was sitting there going, "Oh man, I am gonna have to hear it all episode long tomorrow." And then overnight, Cardano came and went higher, had an even higher gain,
Yeah,
hit an all-time
no,
high. We hit
100%.
308. What an awesome day. Yeah, you can't beat this.
All-time high, all-time high. Hey, just to let you know, you might have rubbed off on me a little bit. I had some Matic, and I just decided I didn't really want to be in that space. I sold it off and put it into Cardano, just for you, buddy, just for you.
Well, I told you that's sad, right? We're both rubbing off on each other because I just I got a stock vest at work and I sold it off and I bought Ethereum Grayscale. So trust. So
Love it,
don't
love it,
don't
love it.
tell anybody though. Don't tell anybody. So we had a few things that we were thinking about chatting about today. One of them was a Facebook post that I put up and got some pretty common objections. And then you also had a topic. What were you thinking about?
I listened to a Peter Schiff podcast earlier today. He talked about gold, legacy systems, how we need to get back to monetary, get our monetary policy back on track, which I 100% agree with. And it made my mind think about how boomers think about this market and how they're missing the growth of the best performing asset in the history of the world. But I get it, right? Like I said, my dad's 72. He's done pretty good in life. He's worked his whole life. So he's built his nest egg and he's happy and he doesn't need to get involved with this. But that generation is kind of the Peter Schiff generation is holding us back, right? Still talking about gold. I honestly believe that Peter Schiff does not give a shit about gold. I honestly believe it. I think that he's just trying to monetize off that 20% who doesn't get it, who doesn't get this market.
I think maybe we shouldn't make an assumption about this. I don't know if everybody at home knows exactly who Peter Schiff is and why we talk about him in the crypto space.
Okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, so Peter Schiff is a gold bug. So Peter Schiff owns a company called Euro Pacific Asset Management that solely, I mean, probably not solely, but mostly sells golds, derivatives, all this stuff in gold. And they just don't get it yet. I mean, what irritates me, so we went through the worst economic period in the history of the world, right? During the virus, and gold went down. I mean, gold went down where they are supposed to be the safe haven. Now, explain to me why cryptos exploded, but gold went down. And yet he keeps preaching this to everybody. He keeps preaching that you should buy gold. My dad listens to him. My dad is legacy investment. So he puts his money in gold. It goes down like 8% during the virus. I mean, it's absurd the message he's putting out there without at least giving a certain allocation to what we're doing.
Yep. And so I think it's important. You mentioned that gold went down 8%, from the start of the pandemic until today. Bitcoin is up multiple hundreds of percent. All the top 10 altcoins are up hundreds of percents, right? Everything has multiplied 2 or 3x. So not dropped 8% and gone up 8%. You're talking dropped 8% versus gone up 200, 300, 400% or more in the last 12 months. Cardano, 3,300% in the last year, right? But then you don't even have to compare it against a really high quality future, the future asset of like crypto. Look at gold against used cars. Used cars actually went up in value in the last year. Every asset, lumber went up like something like a 10x on lumber. If all of those assets are going up 2, 3, 4x, 10x or more during a pandemic, and the one hard asset that everybody counts on as the gold standard behind like the US fiat currency, which we all know is not true anymore, right? But if that's the hard asset that you're counting on, and you're under 60 years old, you're missing out. Like you're going to lose value. You're going to lose, your net worth will drop compared to everybody else's net worth around you if you stay in that asset class. Will it go away? Gold's never going away, right? It will always be around. It will always have some value. But if you're holding it and hoping for any appreciation, I just don't think you're going to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it. The funny thing is, if you look, the outflows of gold and the inflows of crypto, they almost match each other, right? People are getting out of that asset. I mean, we've talked about it before. What is money? What is money is what two people agree to exchange for value. So it really can be anything. It can, the example is that there was monkeys, right? Monkeys put on an island, they were given stones, right? They were given stones and they could trade the stones for bananas. So once they realized they could trade a stone for a banana, they started looking for more stones. They were trading more stones for more bananas. Then all of a sudden, monkeys were fighting over the stones, right? Because they wanted to trade the stones for bananas. So the stones were money for the monkeys. At one point, they're trading stones to the women for sex, right? Because money buys you anything in this world. So money can be anything we agree to exchange for value between two people and an interchange. So, Bitcoin is just the most pristine asset here, and they just don't get it. I swear to God, baby boomers just don't get it yet. And if they took the time, if they took the 1,000 hours, I mean, I love it when Peter Schiff's son Art debates with him right on Twitter with and everybody can see their interfamily debate. But boomers, I think the narrative in the world is so we have two sections of the boomer class, right? We have the conservatives and the liberals, right? We have Fox News and like all the other news, right? And the people that control the money in this world just want them to argue and fight about politics, right? I mean, I go to my dad's house and all he does is regurgitate what Fox News says. The border. Did you see what's happening at the border? Did you see gas? I'm like, Dad, you see inflation? He goes, gas prices. It's gas. It's all in gas. Gas controls and did you see the NSA hacked the newscasters' emails? I'm like, Dad, quit regurgitating what they're saying and think on your own. Think on your own. Because if you're arguing about politics, which they want us to do, Black Lives Matters, Blue Lives Matters, they want us to just keep fighting while they print the money, right? While the government prints the money, and I have the debt clock right here. So while our national debt is $28 trillion, we spend $7.5 trillion a year in our budget. We bring in $3.5 trillion a year. It doesn't make sense. Where does that money go to?
That's a negative number.
Yeah, run your household like that, Justin. What's going to happen? You're going to go bankrupt. Yep. And in the macro world, what does going bankrupt means? Going bankrupt means the rest of the world says, United States, cut that shit out. So then, Justin, they're going to have to say, all right, we need to go back to, this is where Peter Schiff is right. We need to go back to sound money principles, which when we were on the gold standard, we could, right? The gold standard made it sound money, but we couldn't spend more than we had when we were on the gold standard. That's why exactly 50 years ago, we went off the gold standard, and that's where we can spend because we're the world's reserve currency as much as we want it. And that's why we live in this country with unlimited money. Unfortunately, they put the money toward things that I don't think they should put it toward. They should put it toward healthcare, like we talked about, instead of war. They should put it toward housing. I mean, instead of drug prices going up. The rich just keep getting richer in the society that we're in. But as soon as the rest of the world says that's it, we're going to go to sound policy, which I think the next world's reserve currency is going to be Bitcoin.
I think it very well could be. I don't disagree with that. All of that's true, right? I mean, that's the goal of everybody above, is to create some type of distraction, right? Look at what the left hand's doing while we print this money, and go ahead and have your fights, do whatever you need to do over there. We don't really care. Yeah, so I don't think I could be much more of a patriot than I am. Like I love our country, I love what we're doing, but I am not nearly foolish enough to think that our government is doing all the right things at all the right time, right? I know for a fact that there's some shady stuff going on behind the scenes that none of us really want to know about. And in this case, there are a lot of times where I agree, maybe ignorance is bliss. And it certainly just lets me live my life and not really worry about it, which sometimes I appreciate. And then there are other times I go, well, man, I really wish they weren't lying to me right now. And so, we have this when we originally had our first conversations around crypto. I started listening to a few different YouTube channels, right? So you gave me a few to start with, and I started with Bitcoin, I started with Ethereum, and then I found, shows like Altcoin Daily and Digital Asset News, both great shows. But then I found a show, Elio Trades and Ivan on Tech, and I really liked those guys. I think they were really honest, or they felt really honest in the way that they were talking through things, and that's where I was introduced to Cardano. And when I started listening to more and more shows on Cardano, I started realizing, okay, well, yeah, the U.S. is printing too much money, right? There's no way we can keep up with this. Inflation's going to destroy our economy. I look at it that way and I go, well, we can't. It's going to be really challenging for the U.S. to hold its status as the reserve currency for the entire world. And so I wasn't really necessarily looking for a whole world, one world answer. I was looking for something that would make sense in areas that were currently unbanked. And that's why Cardano really caught my eye. I realized that the entire focus of Cardano was, and maybe it's mostly marketing, or maybe it's where they found, maybe that was really intentional, but they found that the continent of Africa, and starting with Nigeria, was a great place to start, right? You've got unbanked people, you've got countries whose currencies literally go down to zero. The value goes down to zero literally overnight. And they can't buy, a loaf of bread or a pack of eggs. And the U.S. monetary policy really influences that. A lot of times our monetary policy is what makes their money go to zero. Now, don't get me wrong, there's lots of infighting, there's tons of civil war and all sorts of stuff going on there that contributes to that. And certainly their political policies aren't the best. But what happens when you get to a total societal shift, right? When you're looking at a major industrial revolution, technology revolution, the countries that are smaller and have the least to lose have the ability to be the most agile and adapt and adopt the newest technology faster. And that's probably where the next great superpower, if there is ever another great superpower, on the earth, I think it comes from Africa, maybe South America. But I think it's one of those small countries that were able to adapt and adopt really quickly, like El Salvador.
I get it. I get what you're saying, and I agree with everything what you're saying there, Justin, except Cardano. I don't see. So if you were to take all your arguments, the problem is, once again, you're in this echo chamber, right? All these guys you're listening to are Cardano bulls, right? Cardano bulls. But if you start listening to macro podcasts, they don't even mention Cardano. They don't even bring it up. How do you go to a guy like Raoul Paul, who is so influential in this space, and he doesn't even talk about Cardano?
He
wants the whole space. He's not an ETH. He's not an ETH maxi. He
started as a Bitcoin, then he shifted to ETH. He'll shift to Cardano next.
Okay, he might shift. He could. Listen, I believe in this space, but if you want to talk about, first of all, let's hope one country makes one crypto its reserve currency. Oh, wait, it's happened. Okay, and so that's El Salvador, and that starts in, I think, 6 days. So take all your arguments and put it on the Bitcoin blockchain, and then you should have a different focus. I mean, maybe Cardano will win, but Bitcoin is certainly winning in that space. Certainly winning. Now, I think there's room for everybody. It'll be Bitcoin as the world reserve currency. It'll be Ethereum. We'll have 70% of the dominance in DeFi. Then maybe Solana will have 20, and Cardano will have 10. I think that's how it works out. Well, just look at use cases. Just look at network effect. Just look at what's going on.
I actually think Solana might take over the video game sector because of its speed and efficiency.
They could, and that's huge. That's huge. But everybody's going to be playing in the game. Everybody's going to be at the table, I think, in the future. There's not one winner. So these maxis, anybody who uses the word shitcoin, I think, should get the hell out of the space. The space, because they're only focused. They're like they're a horse with blinders. I agree. Bitcoin's the best one. It's hands down the best one. Hands down the best one. But everybody's going to have a seat at the table.
Yeah, that's how I see it. And that's I'm not going to roll down the defend Cardano hill today, but I have plenty more to come. I think, I want to keep on this subject of some of the objections just to crypto in general, right? So we talked through some of the objections I've received are things like, there's nothing to back it. And we've talked about that, right? Like nothing backs the US dollar. We've already gone through that. And then I've seen, other objections like, hey, these G7 countries are, creating their own cryptocurrency, or really it's just a digital version of their current fiat that's built on a blockchain. But, the objection I heard most recently was, they're creating their own, and they're definitely not going to want competition. And so they're just going to make everything illegal. And that's already been tried, right?
Yeah. I understand that argument. They're saying the G7s are going to come together, make crypto illegal, and therefore the digital currencies, the central bank digital currencies, are going to become dominant. But that doesn't fix anything. That doesn't fix anything. That just means that we can still print money, but it's going to be digital. I mean, that's how they do it anyways, right? They just put money in the bank accounts. That's absurd that's going to fix anything. And I don't buy into that argument. I like your argument earlier about the small countries are the ones who are going to adopt it. And that's where the future is. And that's just going to be a snowball. We have one now. I think there's about 5 that are thinking about it right now. Once that snowball gets a rolling, and then it becomes a dominant force, we're going to see dramatic changes in this world. And, I think we're at a point in the States where they can't make it illegal. Now they can, the lawsuit on XRP, I get all that stuff. I get the Securities and Exchange Commission's, problem with people making, those guys went from zeros to billionaires, right? In a matter of just a few years. A lot of people, so did Charles. I don't see what the difference is in XRP and Cardano. At least Ethereum is decentralized, I don't know I guess I don't want to get in that argument with you about decentralization, but there's been a lot of people made a lot of money in this industry, and but I don't know who's harmed in it. They're the SEC is there to protect the citizens, to make sure they're not harmed. Listen, we're all becoming millionaires. Everybody in this space is becoming a millionaire. So who's harmed in that? So the people that aren't in this space, it's like, I know at least during Corona, I'm like, hey, I'll keep making $100,000 a month while you keep thinking about you're going to buy some of this stuff. All right. So, I just backed off and said, one of these days you got to get on the train. All right. Because this locomotion, this is like one of those super trains over there in China, in Tokyo, right? Going 280 miles an hour, not stopping. All right. Every once in a while we got to swerve. But other than that, man, we are just going straight to the moon, baby.
Straight to the moon. I'm in on that. I cannot argue with you about that. That's for sure. That's where we're all going to be, right? And that was another objection. Somebody said, hey, sure, some people will do really well, but most people are going to lose all their money. And I was like, well, first, my instant response was, that's absurd, right? That's not true at all. And then I realized people make a lot of really poor investing decisions, right? So most people buy high and sell low, which is that's why they lose their money. If they would just either dollar cost average in or buy and hold, regardless of when they bought in, and they stick to the top 10 cryptos, they're going to make money. Not financial advice, right? I'm sorry I have to say that. I think you despise the idea that I even said that, I'm sure. But I don't want to get sued.
No, I'll give you advanced financial advice. Put your money in appreciating assets, and the best performing asset of all time has been crypto. Put everything you got in. I'm 100% in it. There's every day another multimillionaire or billionaire becomes 100% in it. I'm not talking about diversification here, because everything else seems to be in a bubble. Maybe I'm naive about the Bitcoin market that it's in or the crypto market that it's in a bubble. But so let's take all these bubbles and ask which one is the future. There's only one that's the future, right?
That's the answer.
That's cryptocurrency. That's digitization. Everything's being digitized. I mean, how many hedge fund owners? How many of these marketplaces are these rich people keep putting money in every day? You hear about it. It's not going to end. It's not going to end. Please, nope. I'm begging people, please join the ride.
Do your research. Join the ride. at least get exposed. Get exposed to it. Start with something. You don't have to put a ton in. Buy a Satoshi.
Buy a Satoshi and just watch,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And just watch.
That's it. All right, Tom. Any last thoughts before we let everybody go?
I'm just repeating myself, but I just think it's so important to pay attention. I adopted an 80-20 rule in my life about 6 years ago that's changed my life. I spend 80% of my time learning and 20% of my time in entertainment. Before that, it was all entertainment. I just bought things. I just worked and spent money. And now I'm investing and appreciating assets. My favorite one is crypto. So that's my message. Everybody needs to get on board. You're going to build generational wealth. You're going to make your great-grandchildren rich by doing this, and you're going to eliminate all the problems. Being rich is not a bad thing, Justin. Money is happiness, man. And some people say money can't make you happy. I don't disagree with that, but it's a lot better I'm a lot happier when I can afford that $100 steak dinner or that $200 bottle of wine. That makes me happy. When I couldn't afford it, when I did, I listened to a podcast when I first met you, Justin. Grant Cardone, he said, "Get your money right. Get your money right." Now, he's not a crypto guy, but he was right. And this space helps you get your money right, man.
That's it. Well, I can't say that I fully agree that money buys happiness. But I can certainly say I've enjoyed the fruits of my educational labor as well. I couldn't put it more eloquently, and I think that was fantastic. Education is the key. That 80-20 rule is phenomenal. I live by it. I didn't even know it was a rule. So I'm excited to know that I'm just kind of part of the Pareto principle, when it comes to building wealth. Guys, if you haven't done so, hit the like, hit the subscribe, share this with your friends. Make sure you let them know that this content is out there. If you enjoy it, or if you didn't enjoy it, or you agreed with something we said, disagreed with something we said, put it in the comments. We'll try to get to it and respond to you guys, as soon as we can. And with that said, we'll see you guys all tomorrow.
See ya.